All right, and we're back for another episode of the Lakers Fast Break podcast. It's Gerald Glassford coming right back at you here from Lakers Fast Break, Pop Culture Cosmos, Inside Sports Fantasy Football, and Game Source. We truly appreciate everyone out there listening to all of our shows. And if you can, please give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. Plus, if you can like, share, subscribe, follow, or do anything that you can to support us right here at the Lakers Fast Break, Pop Culture Cosmos, Inside Sports Fantasy Football, Game Source, the wonderful guys who are not probably in the best of moods at LakerHolics.com. Please go there and try to cheer them up. And also our good friends at the Hoopheads Podcast Network. It is sincerely appreciated. Well, the NBA season is here, and already we have two of the teams that were widely just expected to go all the way to the finals already have one in the loss column, as both Brooklyn and the Lakers did unfortunately lose today on the opening night of the NBA slate, with Brooklyn losing to Milwaukee in Milwaukee, 127-104, and the Lakers unfortunately ending the night with a terrible fourth quarter. The defense just collapsed, and too much as far as it's concerned for into the passing, the showcase that was there, the way that they just went ahead, the Warriors did, and just cut through the Lakers defense, or lack thereof, in that fourth quarter. The interior and exterior passing, the fact that the Lakers just could not handle them on the defensive end, and the Lakers end up losing 121-114 after having the lead for virtually the entire first three quarters. And here today to talk about the game and some issues and concerns that not only I have, but also he has as well, is a great guest indeed. I'm hoping for other Lakerholics, but for right now, I've got the man behind LakerHolics.com. It is LakerTom, and LakerTom, we're here for another NBA season, but it's not getting off on the best of notes.
In some ways, it's kind of ironic. My main impression from the game is two things. One, Warriors are back, man. That's a pretty good team, and they were really putting it to us defensively or offensively in that last quarter. They really we could not get a stop. It was that simple. They were getting high percentage shots. That ball was moving around. They were out hustling us on plays. So, and Jordan Poole, the preseason sensation, proved that he's the real thing. When they get Clay back, assuming that he's going to be anywhere near the Klay Thompson we're all familiar with, they're going to be a team to be reckoned with. So I think on the positive side, LeBron and AD didn't finish the game well, but they had great first halves. They ran out of gas, I think, a little bit in the second half. The free throw shooting and points in the paint that we allowed, our defense at the rim was really, we had some moments in the first quarter where I was really encouraged. But the rest of the game, we were outscored heavily in the paint. So we lost the game in the paint, and we lost the game at the free throw line, man. You can't give up 11 and 12 points, in those two key categories and expect to beat a quality team. This was one of the 6 games of the first 23 that the Lakers were facing a team where they were going to have to really play well in order to win. And they didn't play well enough, Another bright sign was seeing Avery Bradley in there. He looked very good in that brief moment, hit a couple of threes. I didn't see him get substituted. I must have been looking away or something, but all of a sudden.
Let me set it up like this. I mean, with the game on the line and the Lakers pulling out to a 10-point lead in the third quarter, as soon as LeBron went out and the subs, like you said, that period of time where you're always looking for answers, LakerTom, and for 2 seasons now, we haven't been able to find it yet. That's when the run started to happen. They started to creep back into the game. The exterior, the backside defense, the perimeter defense was just lapsing at all ends. Monk and Westbrook and whoever you want to say outside of Kent Bazemore, because Kent Bazemore, especially in the first half, played outstanding defense and overall played a great defensive game against Curry himself. But the rest of the guys out there, especially Carmelo, these guys cannot defend out on the perimeter. They just show their lapses today. I mean, just the way that they went ahead and just sliced and carved the defense up of the Lakers, especially from the exterior, was evident, and something I had great concerns about. But someone hopefully who be maybe a possible answer down the road was put in finally in the fourth quarter. Although he just signed up with the team, so you can't say it was something he was, just right there for you. So you know what, he was brought in. Avery Bradley was in the fourth quarter, tried to help things out. He hit a couple threes, did play a little bit better defense for a little while. But again, when they help so much off of Curry and Poole, and someone like Nemanja Bjelica comes in and just goes ahead and is able to dictate, and he's not fast doing it. He just comes in with those Euro steps and is able to go ahead with those long steps, able to dictate where he wants to go ahead and shoot or pass it, and then he can go and space out and hit the three. It just shows you that they have another dynamic, something that they've been talking about all preseason long, how they've been so happy to have Bjelica on their team. And Felix is here in the chat room. He was wondering why the coach waited so long to play Bradley. Well, he just got on the team a couple days ago, so maybe it was just getting an acclimation. They wanted to go ahead and get him into some practices. And I guess in this case was just like a break glass in case of emergency. And unfortunately, that emergency happened, but it was too little, too late.
Well, they needed a cool Poole off. That's the reason they put him in the game.
Yeah, he was initially guarding him, and then he switched over to Curry once Curry went into the game. But like you said, Tom, they lost it at the free throw line right there for you. 9 of 19, 47% for the Lakers.
And it wasn't like it was DeAndre and LeBron doing it.
No, it was all
the guy that we chose to shoot the technical free throw.
Two seasons ago, AD led the team in free throw. Yeah. And then 2 seasons later, last season he struggled, and this season it looks like he's off to a bad start. And unfortunately, even though LeBron and AD had both 30-plus point games, it wasn't meant to be. It just was something where
20 of those points for both of them came in the first half.
Yeah, absolutely. So Felix has it right. It was a weak bench performance tonight. Malik Monk, unfortunately, is just out there and just could not play the kind of defense he needed to go ahead and stop these guys. Carmelo, you know what you're getting with Carmelo, and it's all on the offensive end.
You can't. What really frustrated me is the first 2 substitutions. Are putting Rondo and Melo in the game.
And well, the thing is,
immediately you really got a suspect defense because you've got 2 guys that are a problem.
And the problem is also there was a time period when Rondo and Russell Westbrook was the backcourt, and that was just a recipe for disaster on the offensive end. Russell Westbrook tonight was how I feared he would be. 4 for 13, 0-4 from 3. He looked really out of sorts, only 8 points, 4 assists, 5 rebounds, and 4 turnovers. Just a terrible performance by him. Minus 23, far and away the worst plus minus on the team was Russell Westbrook. So that's very disappointing right there. So right now the Lakers have to go ahead and solve some problems and ask those questions about what went wrong. Tom, you were so high, and I'm not going to say it's after one game that's all definitive, but these are the concerns I had about Russell Westbrook coming on to the Lakers.
The thing you have to remember, and even this is even true in the championship season, the Lakers have lost the opening day game, every game that LeBron's played. And so I think you just got to balance things out. What everybody, once you get past your anxiety and your worries and your expectations that everything's going to be bad, you have to realize that the one thing that has been true is that if LeBron James and Anthony Davis are both healthy and play the way they did tonight, averaging double-doubles and 30 and 10,
Free throws notwithstanding.
If they do that for 82 games, we'll probably be the number 1 seed in the league because the other problems will work themselves out. They'll get better at the free throw line. Vogel will get other players back. Bradley will probably very well earn himself a starting spot in the lineup.
I can see that as your next tweet. You had
I was actually thinking that I could see Frank leaning on him and starting him actually today, and then I thought that was crazy, so I didn't include him in my article. But so it's just one game. And more than anything, I think it just shows how good the Warriors really are and how much potential they really have. Now, the idea, obviously, of how you beat the Warriors is to beat them with size. That's what Frank went after. Unfortunately, the size didn't really produce it because we actually lost the points in the paint battle by 12 points. Think about that for a second. We go out there with all of these minutes with DeAndre and with Dwight, and we've got AD playing center for a good portion of the time, and we get beat inside. And it wasn't getting beat inside just simply by guys getting out rebounded. It was really a lot of penetration drives all the way into the basket, and the interior passing and they had 30 assists tonight. We got out assisted, we got out rebounded, we got outscored in the paint. We got outshot from three, we got outshot from the floor, so, and as a result, we had a 7-point loss, which in a game we could have won against a team that's a lot better than most people think they are in a first game of the season that really doesn't matter.
Not better than what I thought, because I predicted, if you had a chance to check out our show, the season preview that I did with Rafael Barlow, I did put them in the top 4 as far as in the Western Conference. With Bjelica, I mean, he just showed a tremendous amount of will tonight. Somebody who was on a backup, behind Marvin Bagley, who is right now the subject of much debate in Sacramento. He also was traded over to Miami and languished in Miami, but looks to be getting another chance in Golden State. And again, throughout the preseason, they were very high on him, and he proved why tonight. Plus 20 for him with a plus minus. But I want to go ahead and focus on Lakers because, again, that passing exhibition by Golden State, I don't want to say it was 100% reminiscent of their finals run, but it was very good tonight. But still, with the Lakers, there's something that they have to go ahead and work on is the defense. Something I was very concerned about. But you can't fault LeBron James for it. Tonight, 34 points, 11 rebounds, 5 assists. He kept down the turnovers to about 4, which you're going to have to go ahead and take because he's handling the ball so much. I don't think he did bad at all. It's 5 for 11 from 3. I mean, this was a good performance for him. That's the problem I have. When you have these great performances or even good performances by LeBron.
You feel like you wasted them, don't you?
Yeah, you took the words right out of my mouth. And also AD, I mean, just
a game we could have won if we just made our free throws, man.
The free throws, that's all the difference right there for you. So it just, when it comes down to it, there's just, it's just simple fundamentals, and it's just disappointing that the Lakers couldn't get the job done. What I want to ask you, though, is what can the Lakers work on defensively to try and go ahead and minimize a little bit of this? I know defense is going to be something that we're going to be talking about throughout the course of the season because it will not be what it was last season. Those days of the number 1 defense in the NBA, those days are gone. This is now a much older team.
Gerald, it's just one game, man. It's just
hold on. I'm getting to my point. It's just one game.
Seriously.
It's one game.
Come on.
It's one game, but you got to understand this is no longer the defensive juggernaut they were last season. But they're supposed to produce more on the offensive end. Right. Scoring 114 is obviously a much better boost because they could barely get over the 100 mark, the century mark last season. That was
what they need. What they need to do is pretty simple in my mind. You need to start AD at the 5, LeBron at the 4, Russ at the 1, Bradley at the 2, and Bazemore at the 3. Then you have a team that is going to be your best defensive team out there at the start and end of each half of the game.
I would give it a shot.
That's probably where Frank Vogel is going to have to go. In which case, and I think that this is this is not a loss that goes in vain. Because there's always a silver lining, and the silver lining.
I hope they certainly don't go 0-2 on Friday, because going 0-2 out of the gate with Phoenix coming into
you're also playing against a pretty good team on Friday. That's second of the. Those first 2 games are the toughest games that we play. It gets easier. It doesn't matter because it is really early in the season, and they are just one of 82 games. So I think that in some ways, it's glad. I'd rather that we didn't go out against, let's say, the Rockets on opening night, and
pull a turkey.
Blowout win with DeAndre Jordan starting at center. And I would be just totally frustrated by that. But I think that, and I also think that we do need another defender. I think everybody sort of acknowledges that. And Frank's just got to not put two bad defenders out there at the same time. If you're going to put Rondo out there, then you can't put Melo out there.
Or you can't put Westbrook.
You've just got to at least have three good defenders in the lineup at all times. 3 out of 5. That's all I ask. Give me 2 shooters and 3 defenders, please, every time.
If you
don't violate that formula, then I tell you, we'll probably win the game.
Let me ask you this, though. Again, the Lakers, I do like the fact that, especially in the first half, their transition game was sensational. I love the fact that they were forcing the pace and absolutely looked good in doing it. I want to give them props on that.
But they couldn't. But they had several opportunities where they stretched it out to 5 or 6 points and missed the opportunity to take it to the next level and get it to be a double-digit lead. Yes. And but it's early in the season. It's early in the year. Offense is ahead of the defense, and I thought there was some really good defense in the first half. We played excellent defense especially the first.
On Curry, Bazemore, I've told you as earlier.
Bazemore's practice with Steph, obviously, and probably spent a lot of time basically as the enemy scout that in Warriors practices with that trying to bludgeon Steph to death. And obviously with practice comes perfection, and he did a good job tonight.
And the fact that
but if you think of him and Bradley as a starting backcourt, both of them can shoot. Both of them are willing to shoot. They're not Buddy Hield or Steph or even even the kid that we saw tonight. I mean,
Jordan Poole.
Jordan Poole is for real. But
absolutely.
But I saw signs of the defense in the first first 6 minutes of the first half. I mean, we'd had them down, held them to like 10 points in that first 6 minutes. So there's good signs that are coming through. And the main thing is, the most important thing is that LeBron and AD both look like they're fine. I think they ran out of gas. I think a lot of players are going to find that to be a problem in the first, 5 or 6 games that you play. They haven't played at this level. And obviously, preseason is preseason. These, especially the veteran players, they really don't give a darn about preseason other than I don't want to get hurt, so they're not going to really make that kind of effort then. So this is almost like the first time that we've gone out and really played hard, and really put everything into it. And I thought at times we lost our composure too out on the court. We let things bother us. We let calls bother us. We let not getting loose balls bother us and so forth. I'd much rather have a blowout, but at the same time, we're running a new offense. We didn't put out the best players that we could have put out there, even notwithstanding the fact that we've got a few missing guys, but we're learning new things about the team. And I think that there's a good chance that we might see Avery Bradley be inserted into the starting lineup. And I think he would give us the ability to have 2 defensive-oriented shooters, really two legitimate 3-and-D guys who can play along with the superstars and allow AD to play at the 5. And I think that's going to be our best team, and if, maybe, I mean, it sure seems that's the logical sign when you look at what we saw tonight, because Bradley shot well from 3. He had 2 out of 3 from the corner. He's hustled, made a couple of steals, definitely put a lot of pressure on the ball, and definitely knows how to fight around the screen. And it's funny, it reminds me, that we forget so easily just because of his son, he didn't play during the bubble. He's got a son who's immunosuppressed, and so he decided that it's best for his family if he didn't play. And as a result, he sort of bounced around and on the perimeter where he really hasn't made it with anybody. And he finally gets back and gets a chance. And then there's that meme going around where he says, "No, I'm not interested." When somebody says, "You want to go back to the Lakers?" And this is when he was with the Warriors, and he thought he was going to stick there. And he says, no. And it made some cryptic comment about the Lakers. But at any rate, he's back again, and he may, maybe could be the biggest thing that we get out of this game is that maybe we have a second player besides Kent Bazemore that Frank Vogel has enough confidence to allow AD to play the 5.
Would have been great, though, again, that they hit their free throws. That was, to me, the difference right there for you at 9-19, plus the fact that between Kent Bazemore, Russell Westbrook, and Anthony Davis, they were 3 from 17 from the three-point area. That's also an area, that they need to go ahead and shore up. But it is what it is. As the Lakers lose 121-114. Rafael Barlow on Twitter, a guy who was amazing on our season preview. He just commented on Twitter that Westbrook slander is going to be at its peak this season. It just may be with performances like today. When you see Russell Westbrook out there, plus minus 23, just 4 turnovers, just not filling up the stat sheet like he has in so many past years. Obviously it's one game, like you said, but still, when he's out there 35 minutes, when he gives that ball, I'm noticing him off the ball. I am paying attention to what he does off the ball. I'm still not seeing. I'm seeing more movement from him, but I don't think I'm seeing enough. I would love to see more pick and rolls with him. I'd love to see him doing more back cuts.
I think to a great extent, what I saw today was we didn't really run the perimeter 5-out offense that we were running in preseason, and that is really the new strategy that they have to try to create spacing while you still have a big man by integrating him as a screener, so that they can get screen assists up high, and that keeps the paint as clean as it can be, even though it's people aren't gonna treat the guy as a threat, as a shooting threat out there, but at least you've got to realize that that big guys can be excellent screeners, and it's a way of countering teams sagging off of Russell or LeBron or AD. But I think that what we saw tonight was kind of a reversion where we went back to last year. I mean, there was too many situations where it was LeBron on the one side or AD on the left side, and they both like to do that one-on-one stuff. And I saw it was way too much of it, and not enough.
You agree? Pick and roll with those two. Pick and roll. We don't see enough of that pick and roll action between.
No, I mean, action that involves more than one person is exactly what we're supposed to have been looking for in this offense. We want the chaos that comes from spacing and from randomness. That's what Frank is talking about, and he's really talking about that ability of moving the ball. I mean, what we saw tonight from the Warriors in the fourth quarter was a perfect example of exactly what Frank wants to do on offense, which is penetrate, move the ball. And, his whole philosophy is built upon getting into the paint and passing out and so forth. But, when you combine the turnovers and the missed free throws and and getting outscored in the paint and so forth, we were probably lucky to be within 7 points. And we could have won. This is a game that we could have won, especially with, when you hold Steph to 5 of 23, part of that has to be
win.
It has to be a bad shooting night by Steph, because he's not the kind of guy that you really can stop,
But Bazemore, I think, did an outstanding job.
Yeah, Kent did a great job on him. Yeah. It's that length it's the length and the ability to stick with him. So that's another good thing that I think we saw out of that. And AD had 2 blocks, couple of excellent plays. I think he ran out of gas in the second half. I think this free throw shooting is an example of running out of gas completely. If you've ever had to go to the free throw line after playing through a series of hard plays and you're really bushed, it affects your shot. Because the shooting is all part in the legs, and if you're feeling tired and you're feeling weary and so forth, that's why shots fall short late in the game, because players are tired because they've been exerting all this energy for 4 quarters, and comes down to the ends. Comes down to who has the ability to win the game in the end. Tonight, the Warriors look like the better team in that respect, and they really schooled us in the fourth quarter. Every time we got close, they shut the door back on us, and you have to give them credit. They won that game. It'll be interesting to see. I think the way that you punish a team like the Warriors, because they're big men, when you consider Looney and Draymond, their bigs aren't the kind of bigs who really can defend well on the perimeter. And I think that we should have gone small. Then we're talking about the matchups they're talking about are LeBron being guarded by Draymond and AD being guarded by Looney. One of those guys is going to be guarded by Looney, and they should be able to take great advantage of that. It just makes more sense if you've got the two of them, your two best players, playing in the areas that are the weakest two positions on the Golden State Warriors. The Warriors are a guard and wing oriented team with Poole and Curry and Wiggins on the wing. That's the strength of that team. So what you want to do is you want to put LeBron and AD up against the other two guys in that lineup, because then you have a good chance of dominating the ball inside. We didn't dominate it inside, even though Frank played with his bigs. He played DeAndre and he played Dwight, and it'll be interesting. I'll be interested tomorrow to see what the minutes, how the plus minuses went for all of those guys each quarter, especially in the fourth quarter.
Well, once again, the Lakers did unfortunately lose 121-114. The Lakers will hopefully rebound on Friday. We'll be back then as far as recapping the game for you and hopefully be on a better note against Phoenix. Also looking to see if I can get Joe Soro and see what I can do to get other great people out there as far as from the NBA to talk about what's going on with the NBA and shows in the interim on that. But before we head on out, please go ahead and check us out at LakerHolics.com. Big shout out to Bree Marco for the thumbs up and the heart that's on Facebook. So we truly appreciate the heart that's out there. Cannot thank you enough for going ahead and stopping by here at the Lakers Fast Break. But it is LakerHolics.com. And before we see the tweet, the one that now is old, where you wanted Austin Reeves to start, now it's going to be Avery Bradley to start. And I think that might be a wise decision to throw him in there and see what happens. So before we go ahead and head on out, please let us know what you got cooking at LakerHolics.com.
Well, I think most of the talk will be exactly on that same subject of, what did we not do right, and what can we do to correct that in the next game. We know Phoenix very well. I mean, we played them they were the ones that eliminated us. They also took care of us in preseason twice. So, it'll be an interesting matchup. The first two games obviously were tough. So I'm hoping that the Lakers will regroup. I'm hoping that we'll see a lot of Bradley and Bazemore playing with the big three. I think Russ will have a better game. I think they'll do things and work things. LeBron will make it an effort to. LeBron's one of the guys who's going to make sure that the ball finds who needs to make shots in order for the team to win. And right now, what we really need as a difference maker is we need Russ to be a difference maker. That's what we traded for, a difference-making playmaker. Well, he wasn't that tonight. 6 points and 4 turnovers doesn't translate into that. That's not a triple-double performance, and that's the kind of performance that we need from Russ, and he's capable of doing that. I know historically he's always started out the last 3 or 4 seasons very slow, partly due to injuries in a couple of the situations, but in a couple of the years he just took time to adjust, and part of that was moving to new teams, taking time to adjust to the new players and the new situation he's in, and not wanting to step on people's toes when you're coming to a team that's run by 2 of the top 5 players in the league. So I think Russ will have a bounce back game. I hope LeBron and AD will have strong games, and I hope they'll finish. I think the whole team needs to finish games better than they did today.
Let me ask you this before we head on out. Were you surprised that the Lakers shot more 3-pointers, 42-39, than the Warriors today?
No, because I think that what you have to understand is that you can't, when you face a team like the Warriors, who a lot of people think are going to break a record this season for taking threes, you just can't be outshot. You can't be outshot or outscored from the line or behind the 3-point line by 20 points a game, which means you can't let them make 17 threes while you shoot 10. So you've got to shoot if they're going to make 4. I think they ended up make 14-12. Is that what it was?
No, it's 14-15. Lakers, they had pretty much the same percentage, 35%.
We must have made some garbage threes at the end then.
Yes, we did. 35% for both, 14-15. Right. The Lakers actually made more.
I think that's one thing you have to understand, even if you're not a great three-point shooting team, that you need to make enough threes to keep that within reach. You just can't. It's rare that you could just because 3 points count more than two. If you lose the 3-point differential by 20 points, it's very hard to make that up in points in the paint and free throws. Basically, that's the other side of the coin that you got to flip. That you're going to play big and you're going to be able to dominate the glass and dominate the paint and get a lot of shots at the free throw line. Tonight we lost those battles too. Funny that I guess now we won the 3-point war or the 3-point battle, but we lost the points in the paint battle and we lost the free throw battle.
Well, let's see what we can do to turn around that. Well, let's see what we can do to turn that around on Friday against Phoenix. We'll be back then on Friday to go ahead and wrap up the post game. Once again, it's the Lakers Fast Break. The Lakers unfortunately lose 121-114 to the Golden State Warriors. I'm hoping for better things. Maybe Frank Vogel will find the magic elixir as far as from the perimeter to see what we can do.
Let's see if he makes any changes in the lineup.
I certainly hope so, because this shouldn't drag out too much longer, because you don't want to get a far behind. You want to try and get that momentum. The Lakers have, after, like you said, Phoenix, they have some very easy winnable games on the schedule coming up, starting with Memphis on Sunday.
You sure don't want to start 0-2.
Yeah, you just don't want to start 0-2. So let's hope that the Lakers will go ahead and right the ship on Friday. And we'll be back on Friday for sure. Like I said, I'm going to try to have some shows in the interim that'll go ahead and pop on the channel. But if you can, support us at LakerTom on Twitter, because he's the only man in the world that loves the caps lock when he's out on Twitter. I give me grief on that every time. It just comes up on my cell phone on the prompts. You see the whole day, other notifications come up in like small letters, and then I know it's LakerTom when it's all caps right there for you. So I expect to see Avery Bradley should start. Then all caps coming up on my phone here starting tomorrow. So I'm expecting that, man. I'm expecting that. So there you go from there. But at LakerTom on Twitter.
It's a nice campaign to jump aboard. I'll definitely ride that train.
I will ride that train too right now. At Lakers Fast Break, right there for you as well on Twitter. Please support both of our Twitters. Follow us, especially if you're into what's going on with the Lakers. And the best place to go for the conversation that you need to have on the Los Angeles Lakers is at Lakerholics.com. Jamie Sweet, Sean Grice, they'll both be there to go ahead and comment with, and sometimes at LakerTom, and also everyone else there as well. Plus, also you want to, if you have an email you want to send to us, LakersFastBreak@yahoo.com, and please also support our great friends of the Hoop Heads Podcast Network this NBA season. But overall, yes, it was a loss for the Lakers. It is only one game. But I'm just so glad to have the NBA season back, and finally the exhibition season and the summer and the off season. All that stuff is in the past, and right now we can focus on the future of this NBA season. But it is once again a loss for the Lakers, 117-114, 121-114. And again, we will be back on Friday to go ahead and talk about what's going on with the Phoenix Suns and the Los Angeles Lakers on Friday. After that game, we'll be here post-game, so please join us right there and then. Thank you so much for everybody watching and also everybody out there that's listening. Once again, we'll be back on Friday right here at the Lakers Fast Break Podcast.